Hi everyone, today we're going to show you how to install the Hybrid Series front bumper on the second gen Toyota Tundra. This video will also work for the Overland Series front bumper. These bumpers are made to fit the 07 to 2013 Tundras. When you receive the front bumper, you're going to get two bumper support brackets that come with the bumper, shown here on each side of the bumper. The hardware you're going to get with it is going to be 8 grade 8 3/8 flat washers, 12 1/2-inch grade 8 flat washers, 4 1/2 by 1.5 flange bolts with flange nuts. For the install of this hybrid front bumper on the second gen Tundra, we will not need to completely remove the entire plastic bumper cover. Later on in the video, we will be cutting the plastic here along this portion and removing the lower half of the plastic, and we'll be retaining this portion on the vehicle. So we're not actually going to remove the entire bumper cover. So the first thing you're going to want to start with is removing some screws and plastic clips from the inside of the fender well here. Along the bottom here, there's one screw. You'll use a 10mm socket for that. And then there's plastic clips inside here. This particular truck is missing a couple, but they look just like these here. Normally there's one here and here. Those clips just come straight out. You can put a flat blade screwdriver between the head of the clip and pry it out, and then pull it out with pliers, and they'll come straight out of the hole. You're also going to need to remove this plastic inner fender liner here. There is one plastic clip all the way back in this corner here. This one will come straight out like the others do. And then moving along the bottom of the bumper cover, there's going to be a screw in this area. Normally there's a screw going through this tab here, and then along the rest of the bottom of the bumper all the way across, there's going to be a screw here, 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 and then coming around the corner, again, same. There should typically be a screw on this corner, and then again on the bottom corner of this bumper, which this one does not have right now. So as you continue around the bottom of the bumper here, you come up the inside and remove the same ones as we did on the driver's side, which is going to be the plastic clip here. And then there's one more up in this area that you'll need to pop out and remove. And then the other clip all the way back inside here to take this inner fender liner out. So we're back over on the driver's side of the vehicle here. We removed the screws and clips from this side, and we got the one from all the way up in the inside corner here. And we're gonna pull this inner fender liner out. This just comes straight out of the fender area. You're going to be left with this piece attached to the plastic bumper. You'll just leave that in for now. We don't need to take it out because we're gonna cut through it up here at the top all the way through once we're cutting the plastic bumper later on. So once that inner fender liner has been removed, you want to take this plastic clip that was all the way back in this corner and reinstall it so that it holds this liner tight and in place. The next step you'll want to do is unplug the factory fog lights if your truck is equipped with them. There's wiring on one on each side here that you'll need to unplug and disconnect from the light. Some Tundras are also equipped with factory parking sensors that are in the corners of the bumper. You can see this small round hole from the inside. Yours may have a sensor in the corner there that you'll need to unplug the wiring from so that the lower portion of the bumper can come off. For the next step, we're going to show you how to measure and mark the plastic bumper so that it can be cut. You're going to be cutting above this line, about 3/4 of an inch above this factory kind of indentation in the plastic. So we're going to show you how to measure and mark for that portion next. The first thing we've done here to start marking the bumper for the cutting process is we went around and attached some pieces of masking tape to the bumper in just a few places here, around, all the way around the plastic bumper, right above this indentation here, just to give us a place to put some marks on with a permanent marker or a pen, so we're not drawing directly on the bumper, and it makes it easier to see those marks that are on the tape. So go ahead and put some of that masking tape on the bumper first, And then the next thing you're going to do is measure up from this groove and put some marks on the masking tape. And those will be your reference marks as to where to cut. The first mark you're going to make is going to be referenced off of this plastic clip here. So basically you'll trace a line from the bottom edge of that plastic clip around onto the tape. It measures out to be about 1 inch from this bottom edge of the groove here. So make that mark first. And then the next one you're going to do is going to be 3/4 of an inch from the bottom of that groove. And you'll want to make sure that the tape measure is actually hooked in on this bottom edge here of the slope part, not hooked up here. You want it to be hooked all the way down in this bottom portion here. Like that. So you want to line up the bottom edge of the tape measure on that very bottom portion of the groove. And you'll measure up 3/4 of an inch, make a mark, and you want to do that all the way around the front of the bumper. Same measurement all the way around from the bottom edge of this groove here, up 3/4 around the front to this side. And then your final measurement over here will be the same as the first one we made on the other side. Line up to the bottom edge of that clip and put a mark here, which ends up being about 1 inch from this edge of the groove here. So we've gone through and made our marks at 3/4 of an inch on this masking tape all the way around. And then we took some thinner 1/2 inch masking tape here and we connected those measurements all the way around the front of the bumper with one piece of tape all the way. And we lined up that tape we lined it up below our mark that we made with the permanent marker. And then you're going to want to cut above the tape with your cutoff wheel or whatever tool you're using to cut the plastic. Before you start cutting the bumper cover, if you do have park sensors in your bumper, make sure that the wiring for the sensors is clear and out of the way from behind the plastic bumper so that whatever you're cutting with does not cut through the wires. So there are a few different tools you can use to cut the plastic bumper with. We choose to just use a 4.5 inch angle grinder with a cutoff wheel for metal. Works pretty well. It does make the plastic hot, kind of melts it and throws little pieces of plastic out of there that you have to watch out for, but it does work well. Some other options, some people use Dremel tools with a small cutoff wheel or like an oscillating multi-tool. Some have used those as well. Or if you have a really sharp knife, like a box cutter knife, sometimes will cut through this plastic, but it is pretty thick also, so that might take a while. So we recommend just using a cutoff wheel if you have one. Of course, make sure to use safety gear, safety glasses and everything when you're cutting. All right, so we're about to get ready to start cutting here. We're gonna use our angle grinder and we're cutting above the red tape there, right along the top edge. So when you're going along, I just try to kind of steady my hand against the bumper itself so that you get a nice straight cut as you're moving along. All right, so we've got all of our plastic cut all the way around the front of the truck. I can see we went all the way around in one shot without removing the bumper cover or anything from the vehicle. So once you cut through that plastic, especially if you're using a cutoff wheel with a grinder like we did, there's going to be some rough edges and stuff just from the cutting that it kind of melts the plastic. You need to go and clean that off. So some of it will just kind of break off of there and you can wipe it off the front. For the portion in the back, you might have to get like a box cutter and scrape it along and clean that rough plastic off the back. Okay, so we've gone around the whole plastic bumper portion here and we've cleaned off all of the sharp edges, gotten all the loose plastic off. peeled our tape off and cleaned up everything. At this point, the plastic portion is done unless you want to put on some of the edge trim. Some people choose to do that. Put some of that little rubber edge trim that clips on here and kind of covers that whole edge. It gives a clean look, and it'll help cover up any rough areas. If your cut wasn't perfectly straight and you had any rough spots you'd like to cover up, you could put some of that edge guard on there. Now that all of our plastic has been prepped, we need to continue removing pieces off the frame of the truck here. So this aluminum crash bar needs to be removed, and these support brackets need to be removed. Also, the original tow hooks on the bottom of the frame will have to come off as well. So you want to start here by going in through these access holes using a 17mm socket. There's going to be a nut in each one of these holes. You remove those 3 on each side and take the crash bar off, and then you'll take these nuts off of this bracket next using a 14mm socket or wrench there. There's 3 on the outside and 1 on the inside, and this bracket will get completely removed from the truck. And then the last thing you'll need to remove from the bottom is the tow hooks. There's 2 bolts that hold those hooks on, and those you'll want to use a 17mm socket to remove. So now we're getting ready to install the hybrid bumper onto the Tundra. If you have a winch and an LED light bar and even any LED fog lights or anything, you want to go ahead and install that now before the bumper is put onto the truck. The winch is going to bolt in right into this plate here, utilizing these 4 holes. Your winch fair lead plate gets bolted into this portion here. If you're installing a light bar, it'll mount to these tabs welded in here. The Baja Designs S8 30-inch light bar, you'll want to mount the mounting legs that come with the light facing the inside. So the mounting bracket that comes with the light will be facing this way so that the leg is underneath the light. If you're using one of the Extreme LED 30-inch 5D series lights that we sell, you'll get a pair of these mounting brackets come with that light that we send with the bumper. You'll need to use these instead of the brackets that come with the Extreme LED bar, and they need to be mounted in this orientation so that the leg is facing towards the outside of that mounting tab. If you're installing any LED fog lights in the corners of the bumper, there are these slotted holes on both sides of the bumper. Any one of those holes can be used to mount any type of stud mount fog light. You can attach directly into these slotted holes, and you'll want to install those lights now before you put the bumper on the truck. So we're getting ready to install our hybrid bumper onto the truck. We have our hardware prepped here. The first hardware that you'll need just to hold the bumper onto the truck. So you're going to reuse the original nuts that came off of the front of the frame. These are the ones that the 14mm socket fits onto, along with the 3/8 grade 8 flat washers. So you need 4 nuts and 4 washers for each side. You want to lift your bumper up into place, and it will attach right to these mounting studs that are on the frame. Hold it up in place, and then you'll want to put one of the flat washers on first, and then the nut. You can loosely thread that on just to hold the bumper in place for now. Okay, so we've lifted our bumper up into place, got it on the front of the Tundra. We installed 2 of the top factory nuts first, one on each side with a washer, just to hold the bumper in place so it stays on the truck. And then we went and adjusted the bumper left to right and lifted it up to the reveal that we wanted, so we have an even reveal all the way around the bumper. We typically like to see around 1/2 inch of clearance or so, between 1/2 and 3/4, kind of all the way around. The frames and the bodies move independently of each other quite a bit on these Tundras, so it's nice to have a little gap between there to allow movement so the bumper doesn't contact the plastic. So we got the bumper adjusted where we wanted it, installed the remaining factory nuts with grade 8 flat washers here, tightened down all of those. Don't forget there's one on the inside as well on each side. Those nuts can get tightened down to 60 foot-pounds, And once those are all tight, the next thing we need to do is install the extra bumper support brackets. We'll show you that next. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do here is install the bumper support brackets. So there's one for each side here. They are left and right. So this one here goes on the driver's side. So we're going to align it with this flat part up against where the original tow hooks used to go. We're gonna put it up like this, and then we're going to use the original bolts that held the tow hooks into the bottom of the frame, along with one of the supplied 1/2" grade 8 flat washers. And these will thread in to the frame in the original holes where they came out of. So you can put in both of those loosely, just get them started to hold this bracket in place. And then we'll show you how the remainder of the hardware goes into the bumper. All right, so we have our bracket up just loosely in place there. We threaded these bottom bolts in most of the way, just enough so it's holding it in place and it's not moving around too much. So the next thing we're going to do is install these supplied 1/2 by 1.5 flange bolts. You're gonna put a grade 8 flat washer on, put the bolt in from the outside of the brace here, and then you'll go with another flat washer and flange nut up on the inside of the bumper. So you can loosely thread those on and get those started. Put one of those in each hole, and you'll want to go ahead and tighten down these bolts first so they're tightened up flush against the bumper here, and then you can tighten these to hold the bracket up tight to the frame. And those bolts, you can tighten all of those to 60 foot-pounds as well. All right, so we've just finished installing the front bumper support brackets down on the bottom here. We tightened down all of our bolts and finished torquing that hardware. Once those brackets are installed, the bumper install is complete. Next, you'd want to do, if you have fog lights or a winch or any extra wiring, you'd want to work on that now. Get your lights all wired up and tie up your wires and everything up into this area. Here we can see this truck had factory fog lights. We don't have any lights we're hooking up to that at the moment. So you want to make sure that if you have any extra wiring like that, you want to bundle it up and zip tie it up out of the way. Make sure it's not loose and hanging down there. One other thing you might want to do, some people like to paint this area black back here behind the bumper, just so it kind of blends in a little better. Also an optional thing that you can do or not. But once all that hardware is tightened up, the bumper install is complete.